Hello, my name is David Breen, and today I'm going to create a tutorial, real quick tutorial on how to use the rigging system within 3D Studio Max to get this model prepped and ready to import into Unreal Engine 4, where we will then retarget the bones and use animations that you can purchase or find within Unreal Engine itself. Alright, so join me. Alright, so now what I have here is a cat skeleton that you want to create to match the human. And essentially what we're going to do is mold this basic shape skeleton to our rig. So let's go ahead and delete it, and I'll show you how to make it from scratch. We go back up here to create, and we go to helpers in the sub menu of create. And then we click on this drop down menu here, and we go to cat objects, and we want to click on cat parent, kitty cat parent, and let's go to like the front view. I don't think that's going to work. Watch, it's going to draw it from above. Yeah, we don't want that. So just go into perspective from right up here. You see perspective, orthographic. Orthographic is like 2D flat plane. And so inside perspective mode, we just want to click and drag off of base human right here. So we clicked on cat and black parent, and we want base human under cat rig load save. So click right next to him, or you could click right here, wherever, and then just drag out and match it up so that the head's in the right spot. Boom. Perfect. So that's the first step to this tutorial, is getting the skeleton aligned with your character. Alright, so now that we have the skeleton aligned with the character, what we want to do is, the great thing about 3D graphics is we can just mold one side and then mirror it to the other side. So let's come in here, and you push E on the keyboard when you have, oh, go away, Natasha Breen. That's my sis. Alright, so you click on the skeleton that you want to move, and you got W, E, and R. So W is to move it, and then E is to rotate, and R is to scale. And you don't ever want to scale a skeleton. That's bad. That will produce errors, and it will be really bad. So never scale a skeleton. Yeah, just don't do it. Alright, so what we want to do is let's click on our guy here, this alpha male, alpha man, alpha human, and we're gonna hold Alt and hit X, and that will make him transparent so that we can more easily align the skeleton. And if he doesn't go transparent, you may have to right click and go to object properties and make sure that you have by object instead of by layer, and that will allow it to work. So hold Alt, hit X with the mesh selected, and you can see through it. And what I'd also recommend is going to object properties and show frozen in gray, unchecking that so that you can freeze this object. Right click on it and go to freeze selection. So now you can't accidentally select the mesh. Now you can only select the skeleton, so it makes your life a lot easier. And so in the next, that was some prep right there. In the next video, we'll go over how to move it around, make it skinned to the model itself. Okay, one thing to mention real quick, make sure that you go up here and save your work. Save it often. 3ds Max, just like all these complex programs, are very unstable, and you will mess up, it will crash. Create several save versions of all your files and back it up in 3 places, at least 3 places. Alright, so what we want to do is we don't really have to touch these collarbones here, but you click on the skeleton. We only have to worry about one side, and then we see this rotation gizmo, and that is the E key. E is in elephant. So we do that. Now we click right in here, hold, and we can drag it around. So we drag it into place. By the way, it is nice to see where the actual lines are in this mesh, because the skeleton has to match up with the typology. So let's unfreeze them for a second. So you just right click out here, unfreeze all, click on them, and excuse me for a second, I'm gonna cough. Okay. What we want is a skeleton or a wireframe on him. So in order to get a wireframe, this is all right. Well, we see where it is. But we should be able. There it is. Okay. F4. You push F4, and there you go. Now you can see the actual typology and where it should bend. And now we can go ahead and go to Object Properties and freeze this, or no, sorry, just right click on it and say Freeze Selection. So now we can see a wireframe. So now you select this and you're basically just moving it around. Click on the forearm here, swing that into place. And if you want to, you can see the gizmo is set in world space right now, absolute space, and not in accordance with the actual limb. So you can go up here to where it says view and go to local. Now it's, you see it's coordinated in local space with the axes. And then we just move this over here. Move is W, like I said, W to move, E to rotate, and R to scale. Don't scale bones, just don't do it. Alright, so you want to just kind of look at this, and right here where you've got the arm dipping in, like that's the point where the joint is going to bend. So you just match this up, make sure it's kind of in the correct spot. Like that would be the elbow, that's where it is, so that's good enough, that works, that's totally good. Now we have a palm here. We got the arm set up, and in the next video I'm going to set up the palm, and actually I'll just do the palm right now, and then we'll do the fingers in the next one. So we're on local, just rotate, move it up, and in this case go to W and move it up a little bit like that, and then go to E, go back to rotate, and you can see that this palm is a little too long, or the forearm's too long. The wrist would bend in here and it's going way too long. So what we can do is grab this bone and we go to up here, modify, the modify tab right next to create, go down here, and we have length. So you can scroll on that and change the length of it. So we want to get back to about where it would bend right there. And now this palm, you want to have it be about there. And that's good. That's good enough. And so now we'll move on to the next video. Okay, so now we want to copy this limb over to the other one so we don't have to do all that detail over again. One of the great advantages of 3D animation. Okay, everything's symmetrical. So we click on this upper arm bone and we go to modify panel, a good old modify, come down here to limb setup, and we want to click on this to envelope button, copy limb settings, and then we go over here and we click on the right pink upper arm and go to the same place and click on paste limb settings, and we want to paste mirror limb settings, not the second one but the third one. Boom. That's beautiful right there. Look at that symmetry. Like, that is just very nice. All right. Because you hope that you have a model that's symmetrical, and this model is symmetrical. So everything just... And I lied, I didn't do the fingers. I just wanted to get to the next part of the tutorial, so I'll finish the fingers later. So now what we want to do is we want to size the rib cage and all of the spine bones. We want to size this up. So you just click on the rib cage and go to R for scale. Make sure it's on local up here, and just drag on these gizmos. And if it does this garbage to you, the stretchy stuff, that happened to a lot in college and really bothered everybody. So right here next to local, a couple, select and squash. Right, left click, hold, go down one, and you'll get rid of that, because that seems to snap into default mode for some reason, and nobody really wants that feature. So now we got, you know, it's just a rough approximation, so don't get too obsessed with it. Now we go down to the next one, the next spine, just kind of pull on it, move around, pull on it this way, just like that. Then the next one, and you're just stretching them out, making them roughly the size. It's basically setting up the AI to figure it out. I don't think that matters much. Alright, so we got the spine. Now up here we got the necks. We want to get these necks in order. Now you can see it's way out here. Let's grab this one. There's two neck bones. Let's bring those out. And now you can grab it and go to E and rotate it forward. And you can even move it. Move this one. Rotate. Very flexible with what you can do with the bones. And then here's the head. And the head, kind of want to move the head about there. So that's pretty good. Remember, you can always click on one of the bones and hold Alt and hit X to go into see-through mode. Alright, so we got all of that. Now let's do the feet. So the feet, you just grab the top part, and you can see the gizmos up here, which means it's going to move this. And it's about in the right spot. Maybe you can move it about right there. Now grab the shin, calf bone, and just move it into place so you see where the knee is, right about there. And you kind of want to bend it a little bit, because there can be some glitches sometimes, or in the walking animations he'll walk like a chicken because this gets thrown off. So you want to have it bend naturally forward, even if he's not. If you have to, grab this top, move it back, and then grab the bottom part and match that up. And then what you can also do is grab this foot piece and move it back. Alright. Move it over. Rotate. Push E to rotate it. W, move. And rotate it back down. Move it up. And then, you know, depending on the details of your game, I'll move that forward. Like, are they ever going to see your toes? Like, is there ever an instance in your game where they have to see you wiggle your big toe? If not, then I'm just going to show you. And if you do have to wiggle your big toe, then by request I'll do a tutorial on that. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to assume that your game doesn't require that kind of detail. And we're going to click on this foot bone and go over here to number of digits under the modify, of course. Number of digits, we want 1. And here we have it. And we don't really want 2 of these. So when I pushed 1 digit, so let's click on the next one, and let's say number of bones right here, 2. Just say 1. So there you go. Now you can rotate that around, and that will take care of the toes. Same deal. You just click on the top one, and we want to go over here, modify, copy limb settings, click on the other side, and paste mirror limb settings, and everything just snaps right into place. Alright, and now in the next video I will show you how to skin this to the mesh, and then we'll start to get that into Unreal Engine. Okay, the problem, a newbie problem, was that the you want to make sure of this, because you could easily do the same thing, is here in the layer that we made for the cat skeletons, is that they're not all bones. Some of them are helpers. Like this one, you see the icon here, this ruler, that's what you call a helper. So a helper is not a bone. So if you try to skin a helper to your mesh, then it gets very confused. It doesn't like it. So what we have to do is move all our helpers here to a different layer. So see this, we have the base human left platform, base human right platform, and base human. These are 3 helpers that are included within this skeleton, this cat skeleton. We want to move those to a different layer so that we don't select them when we skin our character. So remove your previous skin, just delete it, add it again, and we want to click on add for bones, and now we can select, hold shift, and we only have the bones, not the actual helpers. So now you can see when I move the rib cage back and forth, it makes a lot more sense. And if I grab the head moves really good. Check that out. Just really out of the box. Oh, did you see how the traps moved? Oh, that's beautiful. And then the arms. Yeah, you see it moves the whole arms. There's always been a problem, a slight problem with this rigging system. It never quite picks up this area, so you could probably try moving it back a little bit. Let's try doing that. It's just as easy as right clicking and deleting the skin, grabbing this, moving it back, and then maybe shrink it a little bit. Grab the forearm, bring it back in. You know, you can finesse the fingers whenever you want. I'm just giving you a quick and dirty tutorial. So just get that kind of, and I said never scale bones, but in this case, go ahead and do it. Make sure you're at local. Make those biceps bigger. Try to get more of that area so it will bring it along with it, so you don't have to get in there and manually do it. If you have a good blueprint, a great cat setup, the less work you have to do afterwards, which is what it's all about. Move that back up. Make sure it's roughly in the same spot, but I'm going to do the hands later. Alright, so now we just go ahead, click on one side that you want to copy, modify, copy limb settings, click on the other side you want to copy to, and paste mirror limb settings. Now let's skin this and let's see how much better it is. It should be a lot better. So you click on this mesh, go up here to modify, go to skin, type skin, off of this modifier list drop down, and we go to add cat, Click on the top one, hold shift, click on the last one within the folder structure, select, and let's see what happens now. Grab and move. It moves the whole arm. Look at that. That is nice. Look at that. Now you can go ahead and take these bones here, make them transparent just to see. Now for not even having to do anything, you can see it's collapsing right there. See that? It's collapsing in the front, and that's because I didn't cover the whole front. So we're gonna have to make it even bigger. But you totally get the idea. So you should definitely make that adjustment. Now let's go ahead and Alt X Alpha Human here, and right click and on him, make sure you have him selected, and freeze selection. So now we can play around with the skeleton. If it ever flies off on you like this, like all of a sudden it's not orbiting around the center of the character, all you have to do is select the bone like the pelvis and hit Z, and Z will zero back in on the center so that you rotate around the center again. So let's see how everything else works. Let's grab the foot here and let's move this up. Well, that foot's not meant to be moved like that. We want to grab these platforms here. These were excluded from the rest of the skeleton when we skinned it. You can put them back now in the same cat folder. Just drag them. And these are your platforms. These are what, when you animate and do everything, this is their foundation. See, it moves them around. So it's really good. This part here, under the back of his knee, these are always the problem areas that you have to go back in manually to fix. But, you know, besides that, it looks like it's doing a pretty good job. So yeah, just minor adjustments, because it's got pretty much the whole core of the system. Alright, so then you can right click and go to unfreeze all, click on them, Alt X, bring it back up, maybe even hide the cat layer. But yeah, look at that. That looks really good for just slapping this thing on. Not even getting into moving vertices. Wait till you see what that's all about. We're talking about push F4. Every single one of these, I'll show you a preview real quick for the next video. You go up here to the skin, under modify, click on the skin modifier, go to edit envelopes, and then click select vertices. Now, you see all these straight gray lines here? Each one of these gray lines represents one of these bones. So it's like a subcategory. It's basically saying, so let me show you. You click on one of them, and we get this color spectrum. Now what it means is that every vertice, right here, these dots, clicking on, every vertice is where a polygon meets another polygon. Right there on the vertices. So that's a vertice. And each vertice has a weight. It has how much is this vertice influenced by this bone. That's what it's all about. And you see this color spectrum is just telling you the more the red, the more that vertice follows this bone. And the more blue, the less. And then if it's completely gray, it's not following it at all. So you totally can look at this and make sense of it. It makes sense that here in the red, orange, and yellow areas is where these specific vertices would be influenced by this specific bone. So you click on this gray line here, and you can see the same thing. And click on that one, Boom. And so it's a whole other tutorial. This is a pretty advanced thing to be able to rig, because there's so much to know. There's so many. It's just, it really comes down to experience. It comes down to messing up a lot, doing it wrong over and over, and it's really an art form of using all the crazy tools at your disposal to adjust, including these what are called envelopes here, where you can resize these. So you can see, push up and down to resize these envelopes, and it will in a big way influence. Or you can select individual vertices, and then you can scroll down here under the skin, and you can say, where's it at? Right here, absolute effect. And you can dial that, and you can see how it changes from red to nothing, to gray. And that's how much that is influenced by that bone. You also have paint tools, but we'll talk about paint tools later. So what we want to do now is just get a run cycle on this guy real quick. So before we do that, we want to have control of the knees. So in order to have control of the knees, we need to create these things called up nodes. So click on the top part of his leg and go to modify panel down here and use up node. Don't click it yet. We want to create a place for it to go to. So over here under the toggle layer explorer, yeah, that's what it's called, go to this right here. You see this little stack that's grayed out? Click on that and make it blue, and now that's going to make that your default layer, so anything that you create will go there. So now you can click the use up node, and there we go, it's right there. See that? Base human up vector node for the left. You can't see it because it, it sticks it right in the middle there. Drag it out, there it is. You could have also seen it if you just clicked on the mesh, hold Alt, hit X. But no, you still can't, because hey, there it is. See it right there. That guy. So you just drag that out. Same thing with this guy. Use up node. Right there. Drag it out. So now you got that. Now this guy's skin, so we click on the platform, go to the motion tab, and what we want to do is hold the ABS button here, go to the little run icon at the bottom, and then click this stop button, which makes it play. So now we have this animation. Click play in the lower right here, and we have this very disturbing animation. So we can kind of scroll back and forth and just see what's going on here. Something is really wrong. And I've never seen that happen before. Are you kidding me? It's his bones are flipping around. So what I'm gonna do is go to this tiger paw, or whatever cat paw it might be, and we're gonna double click on two legs in the middle here and go to character run, load into existing layer, click load, hope that maybe it fixed itself, and it did. It's pretty glitchy sometimes, and that was horrific, but now we have a good run animation. There you go. So that's all it takes. Boom. Now all you'd have to do is come in here, hit F4, and you see these, you'd go down and grab these vertices and weigh them out to get this to kind of not look like that. Same thing here. So it's just these certain problem areas that you have to fix up. And once you get those all fixed up and you have a model that looks good enough for your game, Like we can zoom out, hide the cat, and see what it looks like from afar. Like let's go to L, hit L, and we can get a left profile. Click on wireframe here, go to default shading, and you can just hold Control and Alt and click the middle mouse button and then drag your mouse around to zoom in and out. Hit play and just see what it looks like. Now, this will be the end of this tutorial series before I go into the next one, which will be much more in depth of how to fix these little problem areas to really polish. And the thing is, actually, the truth of it, hit F4, you see this poly count. This is actually too high a quality for a video game, especially if you have multiple characters. But if it's just a simple game and it's just this one character or a few others, it should be okay. Modern technology is pretty cool. But usually you want to probably have half as many, and especially on the head, that's just too much detail. It's too many polygons. So you want to reduce that, and it'd make your job a lot easier when you're skinning as well. So one last thing I will show in this series, and the next one, actually there's one more part before this, and now we'll be bringing it into Unreal Engine and showing how to get it working there. So this is not the last video, but what I want to show you is you click on the platform here, click on the cat motion editor, paw, and we have tons of options. The user interface isn't the best here. It could definitely use an update, but what it can do is really cool. We have the pelvis group, click on the plus, you got the pelvis, plus, the twist, the roll, pitch. You click on one of these, you kind of play with the scale parameter here, offset not so much, and if you kind of mess it up you can hit reset, and you just play with these, and you can play with them in real time. You click play, you see them running, and you can say pelvis, twist, let's say scale 1000. Now you can see that he's at the gym now. Hit reset, now he's back to normal. And let's just make him do the twist. Oh, 100. Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. So you can just play with it. All kinds of parameters to customize the feel and the look of your character's run animation. Alright, so in the next video I will show you how to take this character and the animation, bring it into Unreal Engine, and create an animation blueprint for it and start walking around. Alright, later. Alright, so now here we are in Unreal Engine. We want to replace this mannequin guy. We want to swap him out for our own character and our own animations. We don't need his animations, we got our own animations. But you can also retarget yours to theirs. It's just another process. But back in Max, let's take this dude here, this alpha, and click on him. Go up here to Max in the upper left, and we want to export, and click the arrow and go to export selected. And I already created one, but we're going to do it again. Right click, yes. Go to geometry, click smoothing groups, and then go to advanced options, units, unclick automatic, go to centimeters. Centimeters is a more accurate scale. That's how Unreal Engine kind of coordinates with it. And you're going to get errors in Max because Max is very finicky. It's a perfectionist. So now we go back to Unreal. Now we want to import. Right click up down here in the content browser, import asset, and go to the desktop and alpha human mesh. Alright, so here's the part that's important. You gotta know what to do. So right now there's no animation on them. We're just importing the T-pose. You want to import the mesh and import the skeletal mesh. In the future, when you're importing more animations, you want to uncheck importing the mesh because it already has the mesh and it doesn't need to create another one. So right now we're just doing this, and animation doesn't matter because there is no animation. So just click import all, and it failed. Failed to create that, and the error reason is because, and this is something that I totally forgot about, and this is Max's fault. Max, 3ds Max is just a jerk. So what it did was it named a digit on one of the fingers the same as one of the toes. So, and then Unreal Engine's like, why is it the same name? I don't understand. So 3ds Max, shame on you. So this is one of the corrections we have to go in here and make. So we just go into the cat here, and you can see if I click, remember these I created here, it should have automatically created a different name, and notice that the same name was already taken, but it did not. So it says digit 1, this one says digit 1. See, they both say digit 1. And if we go back into Unreal Engine and look at it, it says right here, digit base human digit 11. And this is digit 1. So let's go over here, see here on the side, human digit 11. There's 2 of them, and 1 is right there, the thumb, human digit 11. So let's rename this human digit 11 thumb. Boom, now they have a different name. So that's just one of those things that happens, and you just got to know. Now these are both called left and right digit 11, so they have a different name, so they're fine. But digit 11 here and the thumb are both the same exact. So what I would do is take this and just say human left digit toe, and just add, make sure you add toe to the end, and that will fix the problem. So now we can click on them, do the export arrow, export selected, do this again, and units automatic, centimeters, okay. Still get the same errors. Go into Unreal Engine and right click, try to open it again, import, same settings, import all. This time it does it, and we've got a physics asset, we've got an animation, but there is no animation, so that's useless. And the one in the purple here, this is the actual mesh. So what we want to do is we want to take this guy and we want to put him on here. So you click on the mannequin, go to edit blueprint, open blueprint editor, and we go here to this guy, and we see that this is the current skeletal mesh, the mannequin. So we just drag our alpha human instead on there. Boom, now he's there. And then we can just hit R and shrink him down. Click right here, the scale snapper, snap that off, and we can just bring him up to about where the other guy was, about right there. Alright, compile, there he is. So now we have him in Unreal Engine, and we have him as a mannequin. So if we hit play and we move him back and forth, you can see he turns and he's just in his idle pose. So in the next tutorial, I will show you how to import the running animation and then apply it to him actually moving. Alright, here we go with the last part of this series. So what we want to do is we want to take the skeletal mesh here, right click, create an animation blueprint, and double click on that. And we want to go for this output pose, just right click and type in state machine, and then put that in there, and now it takes away the note. But then it's like, oh, you got to have something. So just right here, you want to add a state again and call this idle running, idle run. And there you go. Now it's chugging back and forth. Go to event graph and update animation. You want to say try get pawn owner, drag off of that, cast to the third person, and this is not third person, this is side scroller character, so cast to that. And now what you want to do is you want to get the velocity and then get the length of the velocity, vector length, and then right click on the green, promote to variable, and then in the lower left you can see under variables you want to make this speed. So speed is how fast your character is. That's what the variable name would be. It's taking the velocity of your character, turning it into a float value, and then you're setting that to a custom value called speed. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to go back into Max and we want to save this animation. F4 to get rid of the grid there. So we go to our platform and turn the animation back on by going to the motion tab here. Click on the stop. So now it's playing and you've got this that looks totally different than it did last time. Well, that's weird, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think the reason for that is? That is strange. You saw it for yourself in the previous video. It wasn't doing that. So let's real quick go ahead and delete the skin, and we'll add another skin. And we're still going to have all the animations of the skeleton. So even though you delete a skin, you don't have to worry about it. You still have the animations. So I really don't know why the skin glitched out like that. That's kind of crazy. But let's just try adding the bones here again. Got to make sure they're visible first. And now go ahead and add again. There we go. Now if we go ahead and hit the platform, go to motions and hit play. Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. What? I think I must have done something weird. I must have added a bone that didn't have any business being added. So I think, alright, what we have to do, oh, that's what happened. I added it while it was in motion. So don't do that. Stop it so it's on him like this. Is that what I did? I don't know. Let's try it again. There's a lot of this. Go back to skin, add a skin, add bones, go to cat, make sure that they're bones. See, look at this. This helper got stuck in there again. See this? Human left. See the icon there? Remember I moved them back. I moved the helpers back. Don't want those in there. Get those out of there. Put them back on like layer 1. Keep them out of... Yeah. So if it's trying to skin those, it's just going to throw the whole thing off. So don't do that. Make sure that in your cat folder that it's just bones. You can tell by these icons, the eye and that bone icon. Not this ruler. So get the rulers out of that folder. So now when you click on your platform and you go up here to the motion tab, now you can go to, or not the motion tab, sorry, to the mesh itself, I'm getting ahead of myself, we have the skin, and we want to add bones. Go to cat, and now we can add them all. And now it should be good. Yeah. It's not perfect, but that is the right start you want. Not all that other weird stuff. That's pretty good. So now we're going to bring that animation into Unreal. Thank you for bearing with me with this tutorial. But you know what? You're going to run into these problems, and it's all a learning experience to show you how to deal with them. So just select the model itself. We have 100 frames, and when you export an animation, you want it to loop, and you don't want abrupt loops. So if you click on 0 here and I click on 100, make sure it's like that, so that the end and the beginning are the same. And it automatically did that for us. And of course you can hold Control Alt and then right click and drag left and right to change the timeline. But if you were to change it to like 75, now you can see they don't match up. So there's going to be a little jump in the animation. So I'll bring it back to 100. And it doesn't need to be 100. You can see that the cycle is only about that long right there, about 18. So you can just drag it back to 18 if you want to save on frames. Not quite 18, looks like it's 19. So 19, this one's, hit play. I think that's right. If we go to 20, yeah, it's 20. All right, so it's 20 frames. So you can set it to 20 frames and have a nice smooth animation. Alright, so before we bring this guy into Unreal Engine, what we have to do is, there's a glitch. I'm using 2017 3ds Max. There was a glitch, so in case you're using that version, you want to take this, preferences.enable tm cache equals false. Take that line, copy it, and paste it down here in this little pink screen. Or input area. Just paste it and hit enter, and that will fix the problem. And right here we just have a rough, without being too cleaned up at all, just a rough animation. Didn't have to get in there and really do anything. It's just the baseline. So we're just going to work with that for now. I'm going to take this running animation, so you just click on, go to max, export selected, and alpha human run, and just click OK. OK. Go in here. Now here's our guy. The Oscar goes to. And you want to, I created one earlier, but it was a mess up. But basically I just went import alpha human run, and I'm going to have to re-import it just to show you step by step. Alright, so import, and that's a right click, and then go to your animation file, and you want to go to set range 0 to 20, get rid of the skeletal mesh, and if you can't see that, oops, alright, go away. Where'd it go? Skeletal mesh. Yeah. No, I had that backwards. Skeletal mesh, you want the skeletal mesh. That's the animation. Get rid of the mesh. I'm like, where'd all my options go? It's getting late. It's 12 o'clock. I'm starting to get a little bit delirious. So animation length, set range 0 to 20. I already said that. And yeah, you do not need the mesh, but you do want the skeleton. Make sure it goes to your alpha human skeleton. And just click import all. Now you can right click on it, and there it is. So that's what he looks like as he's running. And all you got to do now is go to your animation blueprint, back to here where we set up the speed, and we're going to go to the anim graph. Now if you can't see the anim graph, You can always click on it down here on the lower left, event or anim, and it'll pop back up here on the tabs. So we just double click on the new state machine. So right now what it's doing is it's just feeding into this idle run state. So double click, and we want to take one of the animations that he's got right here under the asset browser, and we want the run animation that we made. Drag that in, let go, and plug that in, and then compile. Now you can see he shrunk way down, which confirmed a theory of mine, because since we imported him the first time and changed the units, we're gonna have to do it again. So just click on him, export selected, just overwrite it, yes, and go to advanced options, units, and we want that to be centimeters. And then the beauty of Unreal and all that, you just right click and re-import, and now everything is sized correctly. So there's our guy running. Now we want the speed, we want it to depend on the speed of this animation. So we don't want a straight up animation, we want a blend. That's what we want. So we want to go to this alpha human mesh in the purple, right click, create a blend space 1D, just one direction from idle to full sprint. So just click on that, double click, and here is our blend space to create our running animation. So what we want is we just need the idle and the run, and what we do is we grab our idle over here on the right, alpha human mesh anim, that's our idle. Probably should have renamed it to idle. I'll do that now. Idle. And we just take this and drag it over to the left. The left is the starting point, and then we take the run and we drag it right there to the right. So now we have 3 diamonds. Hold shift and you can move by just moving your mouse. So he's idle and he's running. Idle, running. And you can see the transition in between. So that's what we want. And we want to go over here. We see this horizontal axis, and we want to take the name and type in speed from 0 to 100. Save. Go back here. Now instead of this, we went back to the animation blueprint. We want to delete. This is just a raw animation file. We want the blend animation. So now we can use the blend, and we can take our variable for speed, and we can plug our variable for speed into here. So this variable, whatever it's set to, will dictate whether we're idle or not. And what's controlling speed? Well, if we go to the event graph like we told it right here, the event update animation basically is an event tick. It does this constantly, and it's just constantly looking to see what your character's velocity is, taking that vector length and converting it into a float value. And a float value is just a number that can have decimal points, not a whole number. An integer would be a whole number. So now we've got this hooked up, and now we should be able to hit play, and as we move, it's not going to do it. And the reason is because we got everything hooked up. Now we got to tell it to communicate. So we got to go to the blueprint. So this blueprint right here, and we want to click on the character. This is where we replace the mannequin, and right here, animation mode on the right, we want to use the animation blueprint, but it says none, so we got to select the one. So we go to alpha human skeleton, bam, compile, and now when we walk, it'll do it. And of course you wouldn't have that as an idle animation. You probably have an idle animation of him kind of swaying back and forth, looking around. But there you go. This tutorial is showing you how to scan a character and get it into Unreal Engine and move it around and use a run animation. Yeah, there we go. All right, that's the end of this one. I'll see you in the next series. Bye-bye.